We've also carefully looked at the price of carbon and how this could influence a whole lot of developments, including the development of technology. It's probably naive to believe that merely developing technologies in labs and in workshops would be the answer, unless there's a package of policies, unless there are market forces, which in this case you're not likely to get a major dissemination of technologies, no matter how meritorious and desirable they would be. So I will not say any more, but I want to end by saying that the 3 working group reports, the first one dealt with the physical science basis of climate change, and it gave you an assessment of how the climate of the world had been changing, the manner in which we've seen changes in precipitation, the melting of the glaciers, sea level rise, and then Working Group 2 has carefully assessed the impacts, adaptation opportunities, and the vulnerability of different parts of the world. And now we have a set of solutions which have been carefully evaluated and assessed in the Working Group 3 reports. How do we bring about a reduction and a stabilization of emissions of greenhouse gases? And this has been provided in the framework of technologies, policies, institutional and societal responses, all of which have been presented in this report for your consideration. And I'll end by saying that this rich material that we have in the 3 working group reports will now be used in the preparation, and we are well on our way to the preparation of the synthesis report, which will be ready in November of this year. So this is all I had to say by way of introduction, and you'll get all the meat and all the interesting stuff from my colleagues, the co-chairs of Working Group 3.
Okay, we'll now pass over to the co-chairs, Bert Metz and Hogan Marley Davidson.
Thank you, Chair of IPCC. Let me, on behalf of Working Group 3, extend gratitude and welcome to all of you here to formally give you some ideas of this report. Before I start, I like to tell you that we are trying to summarize a report that is over, that's over 1,000 pages. And we'll try as best as possible to give you enough information so that it will cover the interest and reflect your concerns. However, after our presentation, we will be very much available to answer questions. So in short, if I should describe this report, I'll describe it in one sentence. This report is all about solutions to the climate change problem. That it is by NGOs, by industry. Now, in preparing this report, we involve quite a lot of people. To be exact, almost 170 authors, to be exact, 168 authors were involved in preparing this report. These authors cover a wide range of people all over the world. In fact, to be exact again, 55 of these 168 authors, which is roughly around 40%, are from developing countries and about 100 from developed countries. In addition to these authors, each of the chapters got significant support from contributing authors who provided expert opinion and expert information to suit the particular aspect of the report that we need to get so that we can give the best form of report for you people to know about climate change mitigation. Also, in addition, The report has gone through significant number of reviewers. Two main sets of reviewers. One is the expert reviewers, and these are experts all over the world of the region of about 485, and also it has gone through 2 government reviews. So this gives us a clear idea of the scope of people that were involved in preparing this report. Now, this report, as you would see later on, has one aspect which was also highlighted by the chair, covering various sectors. But before we can look at the report proper, it is nice and important that we look at what has been happening in terms of the global greenhouse gases emissions to the atmosphere. It has been rising. And to take as an example, in the view graph you see in front of you, it has risen from by over 70% between 1970 and 2004, in which we claim or we have reliable data for. So this clearly shows that if we look at all the gases together, it has risen by about 70%, and of course that is worrying. Now if we take a more microscopic view of what I've just shown you, the 2 most important gases, or the most important gases to this total greenhouse gas emissions, is carbon dioxide. And if you look at the view graph at the bottom, you can see the carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuel use, significantly from the power sector. You can see the graph, it is explanatory there for all of us to see, and the top part of the graph can show you that of CO2 decay and of course from deforestation. But you can clearly tell you the importance of carbon dioxide in this whole picture. Now, what is the report saying about the future? Because that is of the greatest importance to all of us. I have briefly mentioned what has passed. But 2 main important things are in the view graph for us to see. And that is, if we continue to do what we are doing now, we are in deep trouble. Now, as is clearly stated there, with current climate change mitigation policies and related sustainable development practices, global GHG emissions will continue to grow over the next few decades. That is a major message for us to take home. The next one is the IPCC scenarios. These are baseline scenarios. These are scenarios that were developed within IPCC without explicit climate policies. Clearly shows that by the year 2030, the GHG emissions will increase between 25 to 90% relative to 2000 base levels. So this caused some thinking within the authors of this report to now look more deeply into the report. And for that, to look more deeply into the report, I'll hand you over to my colleague, Bart Smith, to continue. I'll come in back later.
Against this background of rising emissions, the task of the authors was to find out what the potential is to reduce these emissions. And the key findings, and I will illustrate that with a few numbers, is that there is substantial economic potential for the mitigation. What we mean with mitigation is reduction of the emissions over the coming decades. And that potential is such that we could offset the projected growth, and in some scenarios could even reduce emissions below current levels. So that is sort of the bottom line of the assessment, that this projected growth can be compensated based on the economic potential of all the measures available. Now, in the table below, the authors have divided that up in different cost categories. There's so much you can do at low cost, and when your costs go higher, you can do more. That's a fairly logical thing. The first row, where you see a carbon price of 0, which basically means things that even without a price of carbon would make sense, i.e. would create benefits